It's the 22nd of January 1979. Jim Callaghan's Labour government has a working majority of 0. Parliament is deadlocked. Workers are on strike.
Get on the phone with the miners, find out what Joe Gormley wants, and give it to it.
I've got nothing to say to the government. Last time I gave you a quote, I ended up with egg all over my face.
Tell Audrey Wise, if she wants Mrs Thatcher as Prime Minister, that's her view.
It's getting a bit hairy out there.
Take this.
First time licking something to the press. You're going to be great.
You'll see us on the picket line.
It takes you back, doesn't it?
Yeah, Fred, it does. It really does. The words Joe Gormley as well.
Oh,
Names from the past.
Well, let's talk to the co-creator of the play, Owen Kingston, who's here. Good to see you this morning. I mean, clearly, you know, writing this sort of thing, you've really got your head across what the Winter of Discontent was actually like.
Yeah.
Is there a comparison, do you think?
Definitely. It's not exactly the same, obviously. There are similarities and there are also differences. But I think it's the effect on people that is going to be the thing that we will remember. And it seems to me as though this winter, although it's really just getting started, is going to have a lasting effect, given everything that we're seeing, particularly with the nurses going on strike. I mean, that is...
Well, that's historic, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And it's interesting, when we were writing this and coming up with it, myself and my co-creator, Tom, we were looking at some extreme things that might happen. You know, that part of the fun of being in this show and part of the fun of the audiences experiencing it was that we were playing with some of the more extreme outcomes that could have happened but didn't. And we, you know, there were possibilities for a military coup, for example, and things like that. But one of the things that we ruled out right at the beginning was anybody from the NHS going on strike, because it had never happened. And we thought it would be ridiculous to say that the nurses might go on strike or the doctors might go on strike. We just didn't foresee that as a possibility.
It wasn't. Nobody would have ever believed it. If
No,
you'd
that's
written
right.
about it.
Yeah.
But other people did go on strike, and, and for a long time it felt like a general strike. I remember, and I did my homework by candlelight, like so many people probably watching now. We had this 4-day week, in some places a 3-day week. The rubbish was piling up in the streets because the dustmen were on strike, and the army had to be brought in to cope with all sorts of problems. It felt pretty bleak, but we've already had a lot of viewers getting in touch saying, yes, it was bleak, but, you know, we didn't have central heating in those days anyway, so we wrapped up warm and huddled in front of a one-bar fire when we had the electricity. We didn't moan like people are moaning today.
No, and that may well be the case. But the legacy, nevertheless, was very damaging for the Labour Party. Those images of rubbish piling up in Leicester Square, for example, the Tories hung it round the necks of the Labour Party for decades. Many of the sort of election cycles, you would have those images coming out again and again saying the Labour can't be trusted, Labour will bring chaos to the country. And I do wonder whether the current government has properly learned the lessons of the past in that regard.
Maybe it's too long ago for them.
Well, maybe, but...
You need to watch your...
But ultimately, when you have a situation where nurses are going on strike, those images of nurses on a picket line, they'd be terrible at any time of year. But to have it happen right before Christmas...
during a particularly cold summer.
During a particularly, you know, freezing nurses on a picket line at Christmas time. If I was amongst those nurses, I'd be making sure everybody had a Santa hat, that there was tinsel everywhere, because those images will be hung around the Tories' necks.